The morning sun streamed through the tall glass windows of St. Mary's Hospital. But inside, the waiting area felt heavy and stifling with anxiety and despair. Amid the quiet shuffle of nurses and the murmur of concerned visitors, one sound cut sharply through the room. A young mother, her clothes worn and torn, clutching a small, well-loved teddy bear, knelt on the cold floor, holding her little girl close. Her voice trembled as she cried, "Please, someone save my daughter." This wasn't just a plea. It was a raw, aching scream of desperation. Some glanced her way with pity. Others looked past her as if she were invisible. But fate, as it often does, had someone waiting in that hallway who was never meant to be there. Adrien, Crosa man whose name alone carried power, wealth and influence paused as he passed by. His life was a meticulously organized routine of private jets, board meetings, and luxury. Hospitals were never part of his morning. Yet that day, his eyes fell on the kneeling mother and her fragile child. And everything shifted. But mother's name was Marissa Lane, once full of ambition and dreams. Life had dealt her harsh blows. Abandoned by her partner when Sophie, her daughter, was only a few months old. Marissa had been working tirelessly, juggling 3 cleaning jobs, often going without so her daughter could eat. Poverty weighed on her shoulders. But her love for Sophie burned brighter than any hardship. Sophie had been ill for weeks of persistent fever, weakening body, and worsening cough. Doctors had said urgent treatment was her only hope. Yet Marissa had no means to pay. Every charity she approached offered sympathy, but no solution. And now, at the hospital desk, the words she feared most fell coldly. "We can't start the treatment without payment." Adrian watched silently as Marissa's knees gave way and tears streamed down her face. Her whispered prayers, her trembling pleas, struck something deep inside him, a feeling he hadn't allowed himself in years. He could have walked away. He could have reminded himself it wasn't his problem. But instead, he stepped forward. When Marissa lifted her tear-streaked face to him, she didn't see a billionaire. She saw a human being who might still care. Adrian spoke quietly to the nurse. "Prepare her for treatment. I'll cover everything." Marissa clutched Sophie tightly, disbelief and hope warring on her face. Why would you do this?" she whispered. Adrian knelt slightly, his gaze softening on the little girl's tiny hand clutching the teddy bear, a symbol of innocence. Because no child should ever pay the price for life's hardships, and no mother should have to beg for what should already be hers. Hours passed, Sophie was admitted, and treatment began. Marissa waited anxiously outside, her hands clasped over her mouth, while Adrian stayed near, his polished shoes and fine suit standing out among the worn plastic chairs. As he watched, memories surfaced his own childhood, marked by poverty, hunger, and nights of fear. He had buried those times under layers of wealth and success. But Marissa's courage reminded him of the love he had once known, a mother's relentless fight to protect her child. Finally, the doctors returned with news. Sophie was stable. Relief crashed over Marissa, and she sank into tear stares of gratitude. Fear released, hope renewed. Adrien, however, wasn't done. Learning of Marissa's struggles, he made a decision that would change their lives forever. He offered her a position within his foundation, steady work, flexible hours, and enough to provide Sophie the childhood she deserved. He also set up an education trust fund for Sophie, ensuring her future would never be limited by poverty. Marissa shook her head, overwhelmed. "You don't even know us. Why go this far?" Adrian smiled softly. "Because someone once gave my mother and me a chance. It changed everything. Now, it's my turn to return that gift." News of Adrian's kindness spread quietly, whispered by hospital staff and those who witnessed the moment. In a world often clouded by indifference, a single act of compassion had lit a spark of hope, not just saving a little girl, but reshaping a family's future. As the sun set that evening, Marissa held Sophie close, her daughter's breath stronger, her cheeks rosy again. For the first time in years, Marissa felt safe, hopeful, believing again in miracles. If this story touched your heart, share it and spread kindness with Pure Hub Kindness. Remember, compassion matters more than wealth, and one act of love can change lives forever.